Kowloon Walled City was an ungoverned, densely populated de jure Chinese enclave within the boundaries of Kowloon City in Hong Kong. De jure comes from Latin meaning by law, and an enclave is a territory which is entirely surrounded by the territory of one other state. The history of the walled city can be traced back to the Song dynasty, between 960 and 1279. Originally a Chinese military fort, its population increased dramatically following the Japanese occupation of Hong Kong during World War II. From the 1950s to the 1970s, it was controlled by local triads, organised crime groups. Triad groups such as the 14K and Sun Yee-un gained a stranglehold on the walled city's numerous brothels, gambling parlours and opium dens. The walled city had become such a haven for criminals that police would only venture into it in large groups. The following is an excerpt by Leung Ping Kwan from City of Darkness. Here, prostitutes installed themselves on one side of the street, while a priest preached and handed out powdered milk to the poor on the other. Social workers gave guidance, while drug addicts squatted under the stairs, getting high. What were children's game centres by day became strip show venues by night. It was a very complex place, a place that seemed frightening, but where most people continued to lead normal lives. A place just like the rest of Hong Kong. It was not until 1973, when a series of more than 3,500 police raids resulted in over 2,500 arrests, that the triad's power began to wane. With public support, the continued raids gradually eroded drug use and violent crime. Although the walled city was for many years a hotbed of criminal activity, most residents were not involved in any crime and lived peacefully within its walls. Numerous small factories and businesses thrived inside the walled city, and some residents formed groups to organise and improve daily life there. The city also underwent massive construction during the 1960s, with developers building new modular structures above older ones. Construction in the city went unregulated, and most of the roughly 350 buildings were built with poor foundations and few or no utilities. Because apartments were so small, space was maximised with wider upper floors, caged balconies, and rooftop additions. Roofs in the city were full of television antennae, clotheslines, water tanks, and rubbish, and could be crossed using a series of ladders. The city became extremely densely populated, with over 33,000 people in 300 buildings, occupying little more than 7 acres. The Sino-British Joint Declaration in 1984 laid the groundwork for the city's demolition, and by 1987, the decision to demolish was announced. The Hong Kong government distributed some 2.7 billion Hong Kong dollars in compensation to the estimated 33,000 residents and businesses, though some residents were not satisfied with the compensation and had to be forcibly evicted. Demolition of the walled city began in 1993, and construction of the Kowloon Walled City Park started a month after demolition completed in 1994. The 31,000 square metre park was completed in 1995 and handed over to the Urban Council of Hong Kong. Construction of the park cost a total of $76 million. The park's design is modelled on the Jiangnan Gardens of the early Qing dynasty, with the fully restored yamen as its centrepiece. The park's paths and pavilions are named after streets and buildings from the walled city. Artifacts from the walled city, such as 5 inscribed stones and 3 old wells, are also on display in the park. Along with its foundation, other remains included 2 stone plaques inscribed with South Gate and Kowloon Walled City. The Yamen building was restored in 1996 and is now found near the centre of the park. It contains a photo gallery of the walled city, and 2 cannons dating back to 1802 sit at the sides of its entrance.